All right. So as we are recording this, we're heading into a new year. So when you're listening to this, it probably will be the new year. And as we get to the new year, everyone's always thinking about what do I do to grow? What are those opportunities? And so I love having conversations with folks who are much smarter than me about topics of how to grow. So to talk about how you can go from online to in store, I'm excited to have Taylor Ofer here from Retail Empire. So Taylor, thanks for coming on Maximizing E-commerce.
Thanks for having me today, Kevin. It's a big honor for me. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. So you spoke at a mastermind group that I'm in, and
Right.
these are mostly 7 and 8 figure sellers in the group, and they were all just like enthralled with what you were
Mhm.
talking about. They're like, after you got off, not to talk about what people say in secret in a mastermind, but I think they'd be comfortable with me saying this. They were all like, "This guy knows his stuff." And they were just really like, wow, this guy knows about getting into retail stores because there's a lot of people that seem to like talk a good game, but they could tell that you knew your stuff. And I was impressed too. So,
Thank you
um,
so much.
so just to give everybody a little bit of context, what is it you do and how'd you get into that game?
Okay, so for the last, first of all, right now I live in Tel Aviv in Israel. I've been living abroad for like 12, 13 years, something like that. I was living in Asia, in China, in Japan, in Spain, in the States.
Oh,
Right
wow.
now
Very
I'm
well
based here.
traveled.
Yeah, quite a lot.
Yeah.
Uh, the major part of that was in China. I was living there for 7 years. And when I was in China, I started there back in 2003, 2002, something like that.
Hmm.
And I ended up cooperating with a good friend that was selling, he was selling to Walmart and he was selling BCBG and he was doing also TJ Maxx, private label and stuff. And well, actually, that was my school. I mean, I learned everything there, not only in terms of how to produce and what to produce and what to avoid and all the stuff that goes on in China, but mainly what to do in terms of selling offline. Because back in that days, the online was like really, really in its beginning.
Hmm.
The only thing that I've seen back in these days were like, what was it? The beginning of Alibaba, and then you had made in China competing with them, and then you have global sources a little bit, and yeah, that's most probably all that was. Amazon was not there yet,
Hmm.
not as we know it today. And what I was doing for the last 17, 18 years is I've been working selling products to department stores in the States offline.
Hmm.
And it turned like that. I ended up like 2 or 3 years ago, actually, I ended up with my last line. It was not relevant anymore because I had like tech accessories, and there were a lot of competitors coming in and everything. So I figured like, let's drop it, let's start something new. And then I was approached by Amazon sellers, like, one after the other. People were like coming out of the woods asking me, hey, you're selling offline, we heard this, we heard that, how can you do it? I mean, how would you teach us? Would you coach us? Would you show us? Would you open doors to us and so forth? And I'm, trying to combine the whole thing of what happened between all my 17, 18 years of experience, actually. So before that, when I was in China, I developed my own private label of electric items, and I was
Hmm.
starting to sell it to Costco. I had a partner in Canada and another one in the States, and we ended up selling on Costco in store. And later on, I sold to something like, I worked with around 60 different retailers. We're talking about Macy's and Bloomingdale, Williams Sonoma, Urban Outfitter, Anthropology, Free People, PB Poultry Barn, you name it, like
Hmm.
all the names. Even American Eagle. Or not a lot of business with them I had, but still, it was a good name to have in my list, as well as Kate Spade. Kate Spade was a very good experience for me. I worked with them like for like 3 years, and the level of working method with them taught me how to literally grind the work when it comes to other retailers, which are a bit easier, like Sam Club or TJ or Burlington or Tuesday Morning or all these cheaper stuff retailers. And so, as I said, 3 years ago, I started to work with the different Amazon sellers, and I understood, and I even found, a term on that, which is also in Wikipedia, called O2O, which is online to offline. There's a term like that.
Okay.
There's,
Okay.
there was a huge movement of people going, from being wholesalers or importers or private label owners, selling in different stores and selling to specialty stores or different channels and so forth, TV or whatever it is. And then, back at 2000, I think 10, 11, 12, somewhere there, Amazon, eBay, all this stuff started, to become something very, really big. And there was like a huge movement of going to sell online. And I've seen that and I understood what's happening, but I thought like, my assets, my power, my knowledge is all offline. So why would I jump to online,
Hmm.
losing my offline stuff? Because the way it works on offline, it's quite similar with online in terms of being up to date. So what I mean is that even today, when I coach a lot of different Amazon sellers and other online sellers, people that are selling like crazy numbers or even normal numbers on Shopify or WordPress, whatever it is, I'm finding that as long as I'm not in the market selling my own stuff, I don't know what's happening. I have to be there. I have to live the material because it's daily changing, and it's the same way on Amazon, it's daily changing. But the changes are different. Instead of changing your whatever buy box or all these terms that you have on Amazon, the
Right.
terms are different. Like people like big buyers or SVP or other titles of merchandisers, sourcing managers, and so forth. They are changing, their jobs from side to side. And if you're there, if you're really selling to them, and that's what I'm doing, I'm selling my own lines of products, actually, not one. I have a couple of them. Then you are not only coaching and showing people how to do it, but also you live what's happening inside. And then if changes are coming, you're always up to date and you know what's happening inside. And that's something that you know I'm not sure. I mean, as of today, my major business is selling my own products, but there were times in the last year, that a little bit before COVID, that my major, I mean 60% of my business was coaching, because it's like it takes a lot of time to coach. And I do coaching in we can call it masterclass, you can call it coaching. I'm not a guru whatsoever. I don't like this term. I don't like people using this term. I actually hate it, because it makes it a cheap term, the way we see it today. But anyway, I know what I'm doing, and I'm doing it for years. So I'm coaching people, and there are different methods that I can coach by. I mean, it could be a masterclass, an online one, which I have one and I built it already, and it's like 5 session of 2 hours, more than 2 hours each. And at the end of these sessions, I also give people like contacts, like real contacts of selling in those basic channel. When I say basic channel, I'm talking about other channels. Other channels. What are other channels? The same way that you have, I'm sorry, Burlington and Macy's and all these big department stores. Some people, most of the people would say, before I jump into this deep water, I want to touch the water with my feet and feel how it feels. I want to know the temperature. I want to know if it fits me, if it doesn't. And even if I know that it fits me, I want to see how it is. I want to get the right experience in the small money, rather than hit it with the big money and take big chances. That's how literally you're building a right business, the way I see it, at least. So looking at the other channels, you have, first of all the .com. And if you look at the 10 top e-commerce website in the States, among them you have Target, which people, they are known as Target Plus, which is the e-commerce platform for them. And then you have Best Buy, and you have Macy's, that were the 10th, number 10 during 2019, and this year they are number 9. So they progressed quite a while. They
When you
still
say
have
number 9 and 10, you mean on like online
on the top
sales?
on the top 10 e-commerce websites in the States.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then well, obviously you have Amazon number 1, and then Walmart, and then eBay. I'm not sure which one is 2 and 3 and 4, but these three. And you have Target, which is number 6, I think, or 5. I think it's 6 right now. And you're looking at Walmart, and you're selling at the number 1 platform. But then what's wrong with number 2 and 3? I mean, people are talking about Walmart, selling at Walmart. They want to sell in more platforms, right? And there are so many platforms. I mean, yeah. So these are platforms that although it's e-commerce, I do know how to reach them out, because they are not the normal e-commerce. They're not based. They were not grown as the way that Amazon was grown. They were starting with stores for ages and decades with physical stores, and then they built on that their e-com platform. So the e-com platforms that they have, with Walmart, it's different. I don't talk about Walmart because that's not my not my favorite retailer. But anyway, with other retailers, what they do is that they took in the beginning, they took all the assets and all the workmanship that they had and used it to build the e-coms. So when you wanted to reach the e-com, you would have to reach the same people that did the physical stores.
Mm-hmm.
Along the way, they built more stuff for that as well. It depends, it varies from company to company, but that's how most of them did it. And so that's one channel out of the other channels. Another channel that I'm talking about is TV. I used to sell my stuff at not I don't know if you know that, but I guess you heard of at least Good Morning America. For
Oh
sure you
yeah,
heard.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Good Morning America, they have like a corner or whatever you call it that is named after Deals and Steals. If you ever
Okay.
heard, Deals and Steals is run by Tori Johnson. So I just had a good relationship with her assistant, and I managed to sell a couple of lines there. And it's nice because in you're selling wholesale, because you have to make it attractive. You cannot sell retail, because if you sell it retail on TV, then people would say, okay, I can buy it online, so what's the deal here? So you have to sell it wholesale to be attractive and everything. But still, I mean, it's massive. It's not like getting like 100 or 200 orders. It's like getting like at the minimum 5 to 10,000 units sold within like
Oh
an
wow.
hour or two. That's how it
Oh
works
geez.
with Deals and Steals. And it's the same with other similar platforms. It depends. It varies from platform to platform. So that's another thing under the other channel umbrella. The third one is a specialty store. When you look at the moms and pop stores, when you walk outside, and not in the mall, just walk outside, even in the mall, but mainly outside, and you see a lot of stores that private stores. They have one store in Washington, or sometimes two or three of them, and one in New York, or two or three of them, not more than 4 or 5 of them. All right, we call it specialty stores in the business, and some people call it moms and pop stores. But selling to these stores is great, because once you sell them, you start selling them, and I'm coaching how to do it and everything. But once you start selling them and you understand what retail takes and what it takes to put your product on the shelf, literally on the shelf, because you're not just showing picture here, you're not just showing texts and attributes or specification. You're really showing a product, and you have to think from day one how it's going to be sitting on the shelf, and how. Well, actually, you have two customers here. The first customer is the company that buys from you, and the second customer is the consumer, right? So it's a little bit more
Mm,
complicated. You have to think on both things. You're selling twice, not once. That's
right.
but the good part is that you're selling in quantities. You never sell one piece or two pieces or 10 pieces. You always sell by quantities. And specialty stores, what I've seen, and it varies, but what I've seen, that each and every order that they take monthly usually would go from somewhere around $500 to $3,000, sometimes might be even $4,000 and $5,000 per order. So just think about, and that's what I did back at 2014, 15, 16. Think about like creating 30, 40, 50, 60 different stores that are buying from you. And as long as you sell them, there's like, it gets spreads. It gets spreads, and then other stores are coming to you, and you never know from where, but obviously, there's some kind of link between. Um, so once you get to like 60, 70, or even 100 different stores, then the numbers worth it. It worth the efforts.
Well, yeah, those sound like some big numbers, and people probably listening to that saying, "Wow, that's big numbers." Now to just go on in
Right.
there, because if you think about it, like the tech world has always kind of had this, like you just click a link, you fill in whatever information. You may never talk to a person, and you have your Facebook account, you have your Amazon account, you have your YouTube account, whatever account you're looking for. Oftentimes, you don't even talk to a person; it just
Right.
is created. But that's the tech world. The old world, when I say old world, I mean more brick and
Yeah.
mortar. There's
Yeah.
always been a kind of a guardian, like a gatekeeper to get you in the door. And
Right.
even on their e-commerce stores, in most cases, you can't just go in and just say, I'm going to list my product like you can with Amazon. Is that
Right.
a fair statement?
Totally, totally. The biggest challenge that I'm seeing, and I still see it, although I have a lot of contacts and a lot of good relationship with different stores, department stores, whatever, e-com channels, all these things, I still see that the biggest problem is how to walk through the door and where the door is. Now, people
Mm,
might think, that if I want to sell CVS, let's go to their website, cvs.com, and fill all the forms and upload my pictures and everything. And okie dokie, they would come back to me and they would say, yeah, we want your product. But it never works like that. Never. And
Okay.
I've seen like people spending so much money and so much time on doing it, taking even VAs to do that for them for like multiple channels, and it never works. It's a funny thing, but during last year, 2019, I had a good conversation with Kendall. It's a good contact of mine at Macy's, and I told him, like, I felt like we have this. There are moments in the conversation where you can ask things that usually you wouldn't ask. So I said, Kendall, I know a lot of people that are registering and doing all this online application to get their line into Macy's. What do you think about it? And he started laughing. So I laughed with him. I didn't know why, but I laughed as well. And then I said, so what's the point here? He says, I'm not allowed to tell you what I'm telling you, but I am telling you that this FTP server that all these requests are being uploaded to, it's not linked to any email. I said, no, you can't. You must be kidding me. It can't be real. A company like Macy's, no, it can't be real. It's saying, listen, buddy, that's
So no one,
what it is.
literally no one's checking it.
Nothing. If someone would take the initiate to go to the server and check for application at categories, then they would find them. It's there, but it's not going to any email. Nothing, nada, zero. Take a little company like Uncommon Goods. Uncommon Goods is a very interesting company that I work with them for like, I don't know, maybe 7 years by now. And they are selling in different platforms, magazines, they have advertising, they have TV stuff, they have a lot of stuff. End of the day, long story short, they buy bulk, they buy quantities. I've never seen order of less than 2,000 pieces from them. And usually it would be more. But it depends if they like your product. So I had my guy that works with me sending like emails and everything, and trying to introduce other products, new products that we brought. And I've seen his email box one day, and I've seen so many emails from Uncommon Goods, and I asked him, what is this? He said, no, it's like a form that I did with them, and I'm getting this automatic message all the time. I said, hey, you should have asked me before. I told you, no filling forms. Nobody look at it, nobody care about it. Think about like millions and millions of Amazon sellers sending massive forms to these companies, and I mean they would never have any chance to get over this if they try. So you definitely said it super correctly. That's exactly like that.
Well, I mean, it's probably one of those things where it's like, if you wanted a full-time job, which I'm trying to stay away from going back into that world, but if I was looking for a full-time job, or one of the things I came to learn working for 2 Fortune 500 companies is, yeah, all these companies have like, you can email your resume, but that's going nowhere. You might get an automated email back that says, we'll keep it on file for 6 months or whatever, but chances are no one's going to look at it. And when I was hiring people in a company, like it was a lot of times it was, people internal who, they already kind of had their foot in the door, or it was a referral from someone who knew someone. And it wasn't because it's like, this brown nosing thing, but like people work with the people they feel comfortable with. And so I'm imagining if there's some way to grease the wheel and, like you said, get in the right door, that would be helpful. So if someone came to you and says, hey, I have this, product on Amazon, I'd like to start getting in stores. What are the first things you're starting to talk about with them?
Okay, so you defined it so good, really good. I need to write it down to use it later on, because you're
Please feel free.
Seriously. But that's exactly what it is. People work with people they feel comfortable with. And how would they feel comfortable working with you, with me, with whomever? That's answering your question. Well, first of all, when I approach them, I need to know who am I approaching. And next, I need to know what to say and what not to say. Just a small example. Guys that were on the masterclass the other day that we met first time. I've opened a couple of doors, and then someone asked them, are you EDI capable? And they were like, huh? What is it? What is that? You have to know there's a dictionary. There's a retail dictionary. There's a language that you have to speak. It's the same way, when I'm sitting with a friend of mine who is one of the biggest worldwide Amazon seller, a very, very strong guy on Amazon. He was in the top 50. He's showing me stuff on Amazon, and he's talking, on Amazon terms, and I'm saying, hey, I don't know what you're saying. I don't even know what it means. You know, it's like, it's Chinese for me. It's not, no, I know Chinese, but it's like, it's Russian for
For
me.
the average person,
Russian.
it's
Yeah, I just
Chinese.
forgot. It's Russian for me. Like, I don't know what you're saying. So at the same way, you have to come up with a certain catalog. And a catalog, you know, there are so many things about the catalog that would make the difference. Because I've seen people like, showing catalog, what's the problem? Let me show you my catalog. And I'm seeing the catalog, I'm saying, wow, where do I start from? Like, there's like billions of mistakes here, you know, and things that you wouldn't think about, because you know, you have to see it from the other side's eye. You have to see it how they, the buyers, again, SVP, GMM, all these titles, how they see what you're sending them. And it's not only the catalog, you know, it's the text, it's how you approach them. And how you approach them, you know, we say the media is the message, right? I
Hmm.
mean, if I'm talking with you on LinkedIn, it's not the same by text message, and not the same by email. It's, you know, it's a different voice. It's a different vibe. I just spoke right now with Touch of Modern. Someone referred me to them because I'm selling like very innovative tech product. So
Hmm.
someone referred me to them on LinkedIn, and I was talking with the guy, and it took me seconds to pull his email, all his information, everything I needed. And I was looking at that, and I was thinking about what you said. I mean, if I were not knowing what are the right stuff and how do I, you know, behind his back, not behind his back, but in between the words, using terms that showing him that I know retail, then it wouldn't know, it wouldn't work. The
Hmm.
other side needs to know that you know what you're doing in retail. Why? Because most of these buyers or whatever title, most of them are working on a yearly commission base. That means that at the end of the year, if a seller like whatever, David, okay, a seller was showing them that he's doing great on Amazon and he's amazing, his products, and wow, wow, wow. At the end of the day, he had issues, he couldn't deliver. Half of the goods were going to the wrong warehouse or whatever it is. They don't get commission for that. So in the first
Mm.
place, they know how it works, and they look at David and say, "This guy is not. He don't know what he's doing. He's not there yet. You know, he's not speaking the language. I don't want to work all this
It's going
year
to be
with
too
all
much
this."
work to deal with this guy, basically, is what they're thinking.
Exactly. You have to be sharp. So as I said, it's catalog, it's the way you talk, it's what you present, it's the terms, it's also the website, and mainly, I don't know if mainly, but yeah, mainly branding. Now, branding, it's the biggest topic. I mean, I'm not a branding expert or something like that, but I am retail branding expert. I know what they want to see in retail. You know, I've been seeing like tons and tons of, sorry, different websites and catalogs, and in seconds I could see what's wrong there. You know, just as an example, people are putting on their own website, on their Shopify, WordPress, they putting these 3 4 5 stars of Amazon. Why? I mean, you're not on Amazon, it's your website, it's your house, I mean, it's
Hmm.
your business, right? Don't put those stars there. Nobody came to Amazon right now. I'm not looking at Amazon. Why would I see these yellow stars? Just small example.
Okay, interesting. So when you're trying to look at it through the senior VP's eyes, and the buyer, because I'm sure the buyer, they have to, they're not living in a bubble. Like, they have to probably explain their decisions to someone else, who has to then someone else, and then someone to the senior VP, or
Correct.
however it works. So what are those things when you're trying to like get in their shoes with like language? Like, what is like a basic term that, like, if you didn't know this, you're completely out of the water?
Basic term. Basic term. Well, there are so many of them. Well, when you first introduce yourself, you don't say anything about Amazon. Anything.
Okay.
Nothing. Why you don't say? Because they don't want to hear it. They know you're on Amazon. They
Hmm.
check you on Amazon, but nobody speaks about it. It's like the elephant in the room. It's just
Right.
like that. It's the elephant in the room. Nobody talks about it, but they know exactly what you're doing on Amazon. What you want to show them in terms of branding, first of all, as term,
Hmm.
is articles. We have been speaking about here and there and there. Okay, that's a big thing to do. Thinking about terms, as I said, I mean, EDI is a big term. When you say the term EDI, you like, they like, okay, he knows what's
Forgive
EDI. He's
me.
in the business. That's the
What
first.
is EDI?
Okay, so EDI is Ethernet data integration. And that's basically, in very general, basically it's a system between your company, we spoke about David, so
Mm,
David.com, and between, let's say, Macy's.com, there's a system, and you're not getting invoices or purchase orders or any information, any files by email. It doesn't work like that. There's a system. Why there's a system? Because the
mm,
system is tracking you all the time. The system knows if you are, here's another good term, like, um, you can drop somewhere UCC 128. Now, who knows what's UCC 128? There's a
okay.
long story about what UPC GS1 did with all the UPCs, but at the end of the day, UCC 128 means that you have on your carton a small label that is scannable in a digital warehouse or robotic warehouse,
Uh-huh.
and the scanner, by that UCC label, knows what's in the box, what PO is that from, who's the vendor, like everything. It knows everything about just from scanning it. All right. It's the same like GS1 barcode, but what we know as FNSKU, but talks to the language of retail. So UCC 128, all this, EDI. So as I said, EDI, going back to the question, you log into the system, and there are different providers of EDI. You can take, there are, I think, hundreds of companies that does it, but at the end of the day, most of the EDI would be capable of integrating with that retail store system. They have their own EDI or ERP system, whatever it is, and that other service third-party supplier would know how to integrate in a way that you can upload everything to the system. So they know that you understand that they know that you're not going to ask them, can you send me the purchase order, please? Can you email that to me? Because it's not going to
Okay,
happen.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So what is the system a lot of people that are maybe Amazon sellers, like what do you see people using?
In what? In what?
What is their EDI? If that's
Oh,
the
what is their
proper way of
EDI?
saying EDI.
Well, there is one that I use. I forgot the name because I don't use it because my people,
I
I
mean,
mean,
but
my
does like
PA is,
Shopify have an integration? Because like Shopify has integrations for all kinds of
you don't
stuff.
know, it has nothing to do with Shopify. It's just, at the end of the day,
Hmm.
um, it's just a system that you log in. They provide you with, you have Decentral, for instance. If you look at decentral.com, dicentral.com,
Okay.
if you look at that, you could see, or DWeb, they changed the name twice already, but DWeb, Decentral, it's the same company. And if you log in, they'll tell you all how it works and everything. It's very boring, but at the end of the day, it's a system where you see all your paperwork in all the process that you have with that certain retailer. The system, from the other hand, would not know what are the terms of any company that you work. They tell you we are certified, whatever, Anthropology, Urban Outfitter, all these companies, but they wouldn't know what you need in the process. You have to know that. So here's another term that you could drop when you talk with them, when you communicate with them, and that's called user manual. Now, user manual is the biggest first step after setup. The first step is a setup. I mean, of course, before setup, you show them the product and so forth, and there's a way to show it, but then there's a setup. The setup is a whole big headache of setting you up as a vendor. Sometimes it might take a month and a half. With Office Depot, it took me 3 months, and with CVS, it took me 2 months, I think, just to get the paperwork as a setup vendor, which is, it's insane. Think
So
about it. It's something
that's
that
to
should
be
be
set
overnight.
up for their side of the EDI.
That's before the EDI.
Oh, this
Setup
we
means
haven't gotten to
before the
that part
EDI.
yet. Okay.
Setup means that you have to be set up as a vendor in their system. They have one
Okay.
system for
I
vendor,
I see what you're saying now.
right? On their side, they see everything at one place. Everything at one place. Their email, the EDI, the setup, the vendors, everything is in one place. But then you have somehow to be in touch with them with this EDI system in a way that you can communicate without emails, because emails are not a record for anything, and they are not, it's not legal enough for them.
Right. They need something that's like a connection that's like a third party connection. And so the EDI kind of acts like that. So, okay.
Exactly.
So now let's say you're in the EDI You've been onboarded with the user manual, and you're now in the EDI, and they submit an order to you. What does that normally look like? Is it, a whole bunch, like, is it like usually a small test order? Is it going to one store? Is it usually going to a regional warehouse? Do they want you to send it to 100 different stores? Like, what does that look like?
It's a pity because I'm not with my laptop. Oh, I am with my laptop. I could show you a purchase order from Bills of Florida, for
Well,
instance,
people
how it looks
listening
like.
won't be
But
able to see it. So just
yeah,
kind of
but
describe if you don't mind.
yeah, yeah. So basically, a PO is with all. Well, let's start from the beginning. It all
Sure.
depends what you're selling.
Okay.
Meaning, if I go and who you're selling to, if I go to TJ Maxx and I'm showing them a product and they love it, they say, you know what? Send us 5, 6, 7, 800 pieces. Okay. They take it for like 20, 30 different stores of them out of thousands that they have, and
Okay.
they test it. That's a test order. They test it, they see that it goes well. And then the next, they would, TJ Maxx, they would come and say, okay, how many can you produce a month? That's how TJ Maxx does it. They don't
Mm.
give you an order with numbers. They ask you, how many can you produce? If it
Okay.
goes good, if it sells good, if it doesn't, then you don't get to that answer. But from the other hand, you have Costco, for instance. Costco would typically order for either 16 or 32 different stores, one pallet a store, which a pallet, it depends on your product, but a normal product with whatever, 5, 10 inches overall of a box,
Hmm.
you would have like somewhere between 100 to 200 pieces a pallet, which is a whole different headache doing pallets for Costco, but that's for another day.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, they would usually take somewhere between 16 to 32 pallets, and that means that when this test order, and with Costco for instance, when they do so, they are giving you, they don't say let's see how it goes, they are giving it dates. If it's delivered on January 1st, then they want to see 50% sold by 31, I'm sorry, 30 January 30. Okay, that's how they, I'm just an example, but
Sure.
that's how they give it. They define it inside time frame, and if you don't go to that, if you don't sell that percentage at that time, then you're out. You can push from your side sales in the store, but that's again another story. So that's for Costco. It varies, really varies. But there are companies like I just mentioned, Bills of Florida. I haven't been in touch with them for like ages. Everyone changed in their team. I showed them a product that they needed, and they took crazy, really crazy, unbelievable amount of that order in like nothing. I closed the deal in like 3 days, and they didn't need any test order or anything because they knew the product, they knew they needed, the price was right, everything was good. So they went for that. But again, it depends. I mean, if you have a product that they know how it works in general, and they have competition, and yours are far way better in terms of packaging, far way better in terms of pricing, far way better in terms of visibility, then yeah, you're going to have a nice order from the very first time. So it really depends. Inside the
Okay.
order, it's yeah.
Okay. So you get this order, and it's a nice order. It's a test order. Like, what is the normal lead time, or are they looking to you for how much the lead time is, or are you trying to time it based on maybe the seasonality of that store, or the seasonality of your product?
So there are basically two ways, but that's basically two ways of providing them goods, shipping them, or whatever it is. One way is OTG, on the ground. Like, I have on the ground, this is what I have, this is my inventory. You tell them from the very first place that it's, that's the inventory I have as of now. And once they place the PO, you freeze the inventory and you book it for them. And usually they give you a couple of days to arrange it and everything. It's not like ship it tomorrow. Nobody works that way. That's
Okay.
doesn't happen. It always takes a week or two until you get to the point where you have a role with them. Like, it's one and another, one and another, one after the another. The other way of doing business with them is cut to order. Cut to order means that I am producing from you for you guys, and it's going to take me time to ship it from China, to produce it, to ship it from China, to get it on the ground on my warehouse, and then I spread it to your DCs, distribution centers. Sometimes they have one DC, sometimes they have 50 DCs. It
Mm.
depends, again, the company, the retailer, but it's not a big deal. I mean, they provide you with all this information, again, going back to the user menu. So A cut to order is the best order you can have, because when you get a PO, you're not getting money for that order before it's landing and getting into stores. But a PO means an obligation. It's like a contract.
Hmm.
There's no way they run out of this. I mean, I've never seen any order like that, cut to order, that was canceled. Never. Maybe in 2020 people got canceled because of COVID to stuff, but that's crazy here. It's not something that you can measure the business with, because really we all had like insane year. um, so cut to order is the second option. When you get cut to order, they understand you need 60 days for production, shipping, logistics, custom clearance, all this huge process. I've been looking at orders of 90 days and 120 days and even 200 days. Why?
Mm.
Because what sometimes they do is they give you a blanket order. Now, here's another term that usually nobody would know if you get to retail.
Hmm.
Blanket order means you get an order for like almost 1 year ahead. They are not committed to that, but just giving you heads up, and then you're getting quantities divided to like quarters or divided to months. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so there's all kinds of different ways you might get the order. When would you normally expect to get paid? Because like oftentimes we're putting down like 30 to 50% or whatever up front with our factories,
Right.
and then before it ships, or are they pretty much when it's OTG in their warehouse, to
Okay.
use some of your terminology?
Normally before COVID-19 appeared in our life, you would get paid somewhere between net 10 days and to net 60. That means
Mm,
that you would pay and you would ship and you would do all this big thing, and you don't see a dollar until it's in the store, plus start to count 10, 20, 30, 40 days. And it's negotiable. It's always negotiable. That's the amazing part on that. I've seen companies selling that's our rule. We work net 50. I ended up doing net 20, net 30, net 25. It's negotiable. Obviously, if you don't have enough capital for that, then you would have to go and find your factor, which is the way to work with retailers. I mean, most of the companies that I know that sells offline, there are use even if they are big, they are using factor. Factor is, what is factor, right? I mean, it's like a bank. It's like a company, third side, that comes and you show them, hey, here is an order from Macy's. Can
hmm.
you approve that? They go to their system, they check, they see that everything is cool. Fine, you get the money. What do you need? You need to ship it from China. Fine. You need to produce it in China. Fine. How much finance do you need? How long do you need? They get you all the process, and by that they calculate if they take 1% or 3% out of this, as a cut, as their share commission. So
Now,
that's
wait, are they getting that based on the selling price or based on the amount they loaned?
selling price. Always
Oh,
from
okay.
selling price.
So they're almost in essence getting an equity of that order.
Right, you calculate that into the price. That you
Okay,
calculate that to the price. I mean, if
got it.
someone tells you net 60 or net 40, you have a calculator, and immediately how much it's going to cost you all the way, not including the basic thing, which is
Hmm.
production, shipping, and everything, and warehousing. Um, yeah,
Okay, interesting, interesting. All right, so now it's in the stores, and you mentioned Costco, like they kind of put you on the clock for like the first 30 days or
right.
whatever. They want to see like 50% of it sold. Are all stores like that? Like what is
No, no,
kind
no,
of
no,
the
no, no. Definitely,
expectation when it's in the
definitely
store?
not. I mean, even with Costco, they take a chance. They know they take a chance. You took a chance, they took a chance. That's how it works. That's the business.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, you have MAP, and if you don't know the term, then Google it. But I assume you
Minimum advertised price.
awesome,
Yes, yes,
great,
I know that one. I know
great.
that
You
one.
pull it right away from the pocket. So you have MAP, MSRP is another term I love dropping to them. They love it.
It's just a
Manufacturer
suggestion.
suggested retail price, right? So you have the MAP, and they can, at the end of the day, they can drop it and pull it outside the store for a very low price, just to get rid of that. In the worst case, okay. Usually it won't happen, but again, it varies from retailer to retailer. I'm trying to think of other examples, like let's say I had a nice order with the Macy's back at the time. That was one of the biggest orders I've seen in retail, actually. I had very good products, the tech products that I had, I mentioned them before,
Mhm.
and I was competing on the floor at the entrance of electric department at all Macy's stores. I was competing with Samsung. which is not something that you want to do. You don't want to compete
Right.
with Samsung. But I had a different price point, and I had beautiful products. I knew that they are, mind breaking. What we did there in terms of branding and visibility was insane. So it went good. But at the end of the day, out of I think it was 54,000 pieces, if I remember correct, out of one style, and there were 8 or 10 styles. I don't know. Anyway, from that certain style that I was afraid of, they sold less than half, I think. They never said anything about it. They never mentioned nothing. Why? Because they did the money with other products. And why? Because on the quarter of that SKU, they already covered the expense. So that's fine with them, They're not trying to rip you. That's what I'm saying. I mean, they're fair enough. Usually they are fair enough. Again, excluding Walmart, I don't speak about Walmart. I used to be
Okay,
a vendor
gotcha. I was
for
gonna say
them
I've
in
heard
China.
stories about some of
it's
the
it's
bigger
it's hard with
retailers
them.
like
It's
Walmart.
hard. It's really hard with them. They have issues with paying on time or paying at all. I mean, I don't like working with them, but it's a personal it's a personal thing of mine. Maybe it's different for others. I don't know.
Got it. But we're talking about Walmart in store too. We're not talking about
Yeah,
Walmart.com,
yeah,
right?
in store.
Yeah.
Ecom, I have nothing to do with Walmart ecom. Yeah.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal. All right. So this has been an interesting conversation, learning a whole new world that, I've really
Yeah.
only known as on the customer side of things. I guess I was the second customer. I never really thought of it that way. But that's
Yeah,
interesting. So if somebody wanted to follow along and learn more from you, where would they go?
well, first of all, I'm on Facebook, obviously. Talor Ofer. It's Talorofer. I'm gonna write it down, and I'm gonna drop my. I'm gonna text here my email if anyone wants.
Okay.
And there are different things that I do. One is coaching, another one is coaching intimately, like one on one, and taking it hand by hand and stuff so forth. But if you want to start with the basics, I call it basics, but it's not not really basics in terms of numbers that you're gonna do if you drop yourself into the retail world. But if you start with the basics, I'm cooperating with Amazing at Home, which belongs to Amy Weiss, and I'll try to drop that link as well.
All right. So check out
Um,
Amazing at Home.
yeah, there's a whole session at Amazing at Home uh, on
Okay.
it's amazingathome.com/retail, if I remember correct. And that's where I have my basic coaching of like 5 sessions, about 2 hours or 2 hours and more of each and every session. And
Well,
here's the
let's do
link. You
this.
just
I
found
will,
it.
if somebody wants to go check out your training, we'll have a link to that in the show
Sure.
notes as if they're listening to the podcast as well. It's on YouTube. It'll be in the description below. And I also will include your email address that you had shared with me as well. So they can go check that out. So if that sounds like something they're interested in, they should
Right.
definitely go check out. You definitely know your stuff. It's I feel like they've
Thank
got
you.
a little bit of a master class here on the retail world. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you for having me. It was fun being here.
Awesome. Thanks, Taylor.
Thanks a lot. Have a good one, Kevin.